You can proceed.
Hi, good morning. My name is Ron Carinci, and I'm the chair of CreateTO. Clerk has confirmed that we have quorum, and I'd like to call meeting number 19 of CreateTO to order. Welcome, everyone. Meeting is being held using the City's Spec technology with members of staff connecting by video conference or calling in. We ask for your patience with any delays and technical issues. Members of the public can observe the meeting on YouTube. A few reminders, members of staff, please keep your microphone on mute unless you need to answer a question or speak. Members, if you wish to speak, have your video on, raise your hand, unmute your mic and let me know. Although we are in different locations and meeting remotely today, CreateTO acknowledges the land we are meeting on is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. Now, before we begin the meeting, I'd like to recognize Dino Chiesa, the outgoing chair of CreateTO. Hi, Dino. And Dino was appointed inaugural chair of CreateTO about 4 years ago and was tasked with leading a new organization that consolidated most of the real estate owned by the City of Toronto. Under his leadership, Dino not only oversaw the transition to a new real estate model, he was also influential in the implementation of the city's Housing Now initiative and the introduction of Modern TO, a plan to optimize and modernize the city's office portfolio. Dino, on behalf of the board, management, and the City of Toronto, I want to thank you for your efforts, time, and dedication to this organization. It's unfortunate we can't be there in person. I would give you a big hug. But please take my words as heartfelt words that we will miss you. And I'm glad that I can call you a friend after all the years that we've spent together on CreateTO. And I'd like to give a nice clap for you. Thanks very much. You're fantastic.
Thank you, Ron. It was I probably stayed here longer than I should have, because as you know, we talked earlier. I just wanted to get, my job was to get the thing organized and up and running, and, not really to be operational after that. But the staff there did a great job, as you know, especially in the early days with Josie and all of her people. So I take very little credit for all that. And the board there has always been supportive. It's been a great board, been a great run for me. I really appreciate all the support that the staff and the board gave me. And I'm not going anywhere. So if anybody needs, my limited experience, but it's there for you. My heart's in the affordable housing, always has been. It's been part of my life the last 30 years, both professionally and voluntarily. So I don't have much else to add, but it's been great, and I wish everyone luck.
Well, we will definitely miss you, and we're so glad that you were able to take the time today just to say hello, and it's never goodbye, as you said, because we know your phone number. Yeah,
no, I wouldn't have missed this opportunity for the world, and I got prodded too by Councillor Bylaw there too. Very nice of her to make a couple of nice calls last week. I appreciate it, Anna.
And if Mr. Chair, if you allow me, I would like to thank Dino for a career in the affordable housing sector, and then coming on board and helping us put together CreateTO with a big focus on delivering housing. So Dino, thank you for being there for us, for your patience of working with us, your advice, your guidance. Thank you. Personally, it's been a pleasure to work with you. So great. I hope you don't change your phone number now that you got rid of us, because I'm sure that once in a while you'll probably be getting a call from us.
Be great. Okay. Ron, thanks again for taking the time out of a very busy agenda to thank me and all that. It's really appreciated.
Well, our pleasure. And like I said, it's unfortunate that we can't do this in person. But one day we'll do this again.
Okay.
Ron, it looked like Josie wanted to say something.
Josie?
Yeah, I actually want to thank Dino has been so instrumental in helping us prior to a board. And he came on the advisory board with us. And I want to say he has been instrumental helping us. He's actually paved the way and actually got us to think differently on a lot of different issues that we were dealing with. So I want to say thank you. He's one of a kind. He's a very generous and a very, very instrumental person across many different places that I found out throughout the last few years. So I just want to say thank you from the City of Toronto, and we look forward to continuously working with you. I've got you on my Rolodex, and you're going to stay in my Rolodex. So thank you from all of us.
Thank you. The staff there.
Heartfelt thanks. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks again. Okay, Ron, I'll let you go back to your regular agenda now.
All right. Thanks, Dino. We'll see you soon.
Thanks. Thanks, Ron. Bye-bye.
Okay, moving on with the meeting. Are there any declarations of interest on the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act? Okay, seeing none. Next, we need a motion to confirm the minutes from our last two meetings held on October 9th, 2020 and November 5th, 2020. I will move that. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? No, and that carries. There are 10 items on the agenda today, and we have one new item, I believe, or is it two new items? One is one new business item I'd like to add as an additional item to the agenda. I think the members have seen it as a staff report regarding master planning of 260 Adelaide Street West and 229 Richmond Street West. I'll just ask all those in favor of adding this, the report to the agenda. See some hands. Dennis, did I see your hand? There you go. Okay, so that carries. Thank you. And this report has been added as RA 19.11. Carol, is there any other additions that we need to make to the meeting?
No, Mr. Chair, I think that was it.
Mary, was there something with respect to some signing officers?
That's for the corporate meeting, not for this one.
Oh, got it. Perfect. Okay. Okay, so the next I'll deal with items RA 19.9 and 19.10. So RA 19.9 is the appointment of the chair, and this is a letter for information confirming the City Council's decision regarding their appointment of myself as chair of CreateTO. And unless there's any questions or comments, I'd move to have the item received for information. So all those in favor, good. That carries. Thank you. And next, I'd like to deal with RA 19.10, which is the election of a vice chair to the board of directors. In order to elect a vice chair, there are a nomination process, and I'd like to nominate Sandra Levy to the vice chair position. During my tenure as acting chair, Sandra has been extremely helpful throughout the process for me, and would probably serve well as a vice chair. And I would ask if there's any other nominations to that position. And I'll go once, twice, three times. Okay, well, that closes the nominations. And so having heard no further nominations, I declare that closed, and Sandra Levy is the only nominee and is declared vice chair of the board of directors of CreateTO. Congratulations to Sandra. Unfortunately, Sandra could not be here. I did speak to her that I would be nominating her, and she said that she would, as she said, gleefully accept the position if she was so elected. So we will wait till the next meeting to watch what gleefully accepting looks like. So off to RA 19.1, which is the third quarter financial reports. There's a staff report, and I'll ask our interim CEO, Steve, and or Jaspreet to provide an overview.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Chair, and congratulations on your appointment. I'll turn this over to our CFO, Jaspreet Hansra-Kula-Singham, to give us an update on our third quarter financial performance.
Thank you, and good morning, everyone. If I could turn everyone's attention to table 1 of the report. Here we can see that we're continuing to follow a very similar trend to what we saw in Q2. We're continuing to track very closely to our budget and anticipate that our Q2 results will come in line with the budget. For the 9 months ending September 30th, we are showing a favorable variance of $420,000 for total expenditures, the majority of which can be attributed to lower project investigative costs and office-related expenditures. For the project investigative costs, the lower expenditures are due to timing. We do plan to have the majority of these funds spent by year-end. And on the office-related expenditures, these are actual real savings, which we'll continue to see till year-end. So that concludes my formal comments. I'll just pause there to see if there are any questions on the report.
So if there are no questions on that, I'll just move to adopt the recommendation to receive the report for information. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? Nope. Okay, that carries. Thank you, Jaspreet. RA 19.2 delegate. There is a staff report with a recommendation. I'll ask Steve again to provide a bit of an overview on this. Steve, you're on mute.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like to invite our new Chief Legal Counsel, Mary Ormond, to present this item.
Thank you, Stephen. Through the chair, pursuant to the Municipal Freedom of Information Act, in the absence of a delegation by the board acts in the position of head pursuant to the act, which means the board makes decisions about what is to be disclosed pursuant to freedom of information requests. The act provides the board with the ability to delegate that position to a staff member. Traditionally, boards do make that delegation, and it's common for that delegation to go to the head of legal. So this is just a report recommending the delegation of those responsibilities to the Chief Legal Counsel.
All right. Do we have any questions for Mary? No? Okay. Well, I will move to adopt the recommendations of the report. Paul, are you okay there? Because we saw your screen suddenly fall off and now go blank. So there you are. You look good, but we can't hear you. But that's okay. But you look fine. So
thank you. I just dropped everything. I dropped you all on the floor, but you're all picked up on it. So thank you.
We all felt it. Okay. All right. So if there's no questions of staff on RA 19.2, I'll move to adopt the recommendations in the report. All those in favor? And that motion carries. Thank you. Okay. RA 19.3, CreateTO 2021 operating budget. This is there's a staff report with a recommendation. And I'll again ask Steve and or Jaspreet to speak.
Yeah, this is another item for Jaspreet, Mr. Chair. So over to you, Jaspreet.
Thank you. If again, I could ask everyone to turn their attention to table 1 of the report. As you can see by the numbers presented in table 1, there has not been a lot of movement in our budget year over year. We are requesting a budget representing total expenditures of $14.598 million versus a 2020 budget of $14.66 million. This represents a $62,000 decrease in total expenditures year over year. Our approach to the 2021 budget was really to keep things at status quo, especially in appreciation for the current environment that the city is operating in. We really wanted to be mindful and not come forward with a slew of new position requests. As part of the 2021 budget, we have requested the addition of one full-time position, a portfolio strategy analyst that we believe is critical to continue to advance the portfolio strategies that we want to bring forward to council. That being said, resources, and in particular, the capacity of our resources, is an item that the executive team is very focused on. To date, CreateTO has pretty much operated with an open door philosophy where requests would come in and we would start working on them. And as time goes by, we are getting more and more requests, which is great. It shows that people see value in what we do and they want to engage with us. But we also recognize that this model is not sustainable with our current resources. Excuse me. And we recognize that we need to prioritize these requests so that our teams can execute their work more efficiently. And, we'll be the first to recognize that that won't be easy, but it is necessary. The last item I would like to draw the board's attention to is on page 4, the last paragraph. Here we highlight the key risk for CreateTO, which continues to be its current financial model. The current financial model, as we've discussed previously, it is not sustainable, nor does it align with CreateTO's mandate of city building. Under the new executive team, there is a renewed focus on advancing this issue, and we will be reporting back to the board in Q2 of 2021 on our recommended approach to a new financial model. And with that, I'd like to open it up to any questions regarding CreateTO's 2021 operating budget.
So, Councillor Fletcher, I think you've got your hand up.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much, Jaspreet. What kind of requests are you speaking about? Are there requests to do a development, requests to look at this? What are they and how do they come in and how are they looked at? And who separates them out? What's the process?
So right now, we're in the process of putting a process in place.
Okay.
So where the requests come in is, there's requests that come from council direction, and that's where most of the requests come from. And some of them are the key projects that we're working on. So they're things that we know about and we've gone forward with, being housing now, modern TO, modular housing. There's other items where reports go to council, and because of CreateTO's role and its in oversight over real estate, there are a lot of motions where CreateTO's name will just get added. And it might be, just from an advisory perspective, they want CreateTO's CEO to work alongside with a different agency or division. And there's a lot of those items. And, we're trying to figure out a way that those items are not surprises to us. We want to have consultations with these various groups beforehand so that we understand the requests, understand our capacity to support those requests before these items appear on council's floor. So we're improving that communication across the board. And in terms of the process, Councillor Fletcher, we recognize we need a process. To date, there hasn't been one. So we are in the process of having all requests come through the executive committee and having the executive committee prioritize where we spend our efforts. And it's not that we want to say no to anything. All these things are important, but we want to prioritize which ones are the ones that we tackle right now and which ones do we tackle later.
So basically putting an orderly and strategic lens on all of the requests and an executive lens coming through the team. Okay. And you say oversight over real estate. I guess I'm just going to ask Steve, is all of the city's real estate under the aegis of CreateTO, or are there some pockets that are still left out, and what's the plan to bring those decisions in-house, so to speak?
Sure. So the city, of course, has a large real estate department of its own, Paul. The group PREM are in charge of the management of the city's entire portfolio. Our primary job is delivering, as you know, affordable housing and providing a more strategic lens on the city's portfolio. But the actual delivery of real estate services still remains with the city.
I understand that. But for development, I understand, is CreateTO. That's its function.
Yes, I think that's a fair statement.
So are all of the ABCs, all of the city's property under within the ABCs?
About 2 years ago, when CreateTO was first formed, the responsibility for the responsibility for real estate matters was taken away from a number of the city's agencies, for example, TPA, PTC, et cetera, and given to CreateTO, but there are still some city agencies, as I understand it, that have responsibility for their own real estate. Toronto Hydro, for example, would be one, TCHC, and of course, as you know, that's the subject of a separate council process. I believe the exhibition still has responsibility for its own real estate. So there are some areas of the city that are outside of the jurisdiction of CreateTO.
I see. And when will they be brought over? Do you have an idea?
Well, that's an ongoing responsibility. That's an ongoing process, Councillor, that, for example, Ashmead Alley of our portfolio planning group, David Jollimore within the city's real estate group, are working on as we speak, and there should be more to report on that in 2021.
Thank you. And my last question now, where everybody knows that Tenants First has a supposition that the development wing of TCHC will move to CreateTO. In their development model, is it, it's a cost recovery model for development, I believe. Can somebody comment on that and whether we use the same model for our operating as far as cost recovery for all the expenses that go into getting the development to its buildable?
Yeah, I'm out of my depth on that one, Councillor, I will confess. So I see David Jollimore's on the line. David, do you want to comment on the Councillor's question on that?
Good morning, through the chair. Good morning, Councillor. So my understanding of TCH development is that their costs are recovered through capital through the development. So I think, and Jaspreet can comment with respect to CreateTO, but I think it's a similar model in that all the operating expenses of CreateTO are recovered through the corporation.
Thank you. That's my question. That's good. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, do we have any other questions for Jaspreet? Councillor Bailao?
Yes. Just following up on a couple of answers. So the path forward on which other real estate is going to come forward, could the board get actually a roadmap? I really feel like this is something that the board should be well informed and on top of, because it obviously impacts our mandate for the future. So when can we see, and can we get it on a regular basis, how this process is going?
I'll ask David to comment on this one as well, Councillor.
Through the chair. So just to clarify, the real estate model has authority over all the real estate on a citywide basis. That was brought into effect January 1st of 2018. There's two exceptions, Toronto Hydro and Toronto Community Housing. So those are the two exceptions. So one of the intents of the report that we're going to bring in the beginning of second quarter, as Steve outlined, will be to clean up all those other matters. I think there's definitely some complexity associated with Toronto Hydro and Toronto Community Housing Corporations, but we'll be reporting back on that as part of our second quarter report.
But I thought I just heard somebody saying that Exhibition Place still has control over their real estate. And no. I know that. Oh, no?
No.
So,
okay.
So we're unclear between.
Can I comment? It's Josie. If I may, Steve, if you're okay with that through the chair.
Yeah, please, by all means.
So the Exhibition Place, we definitely have authority over that through the what we got approved from council back in 2017, late 2017. The operationalization of some of what we're talking about is what I think what Deputy Mayor Bailao is getting at. I think we can be really clear about what the authorization we have and council gave direction on, which would be the first 3 years of incubation, which is what we were just finishing, which includes Exhibition Place, actually. The operationalization of this stuff, meaning did we actually do some of all the stuff that we were given authority to? I think that's what we need to show this board as to what we have done and what we have not been able to do, so we can be clear about the authority that council gave versus what we've actually been able to accomplish. I think is really important. So Exhibition Place is definitely in it. The community housing is definitely part of the next 2 years, and we're going to do that sooner than later based on what we're working on, as well. There's going to be further discussion with hydro. So the other thing that's important here is within the city itself, a lot of the operations for facilities management are within still some divisions, and that would be moved over to CREM. And I think this board needs to have the oversight of looking at that too, not just the development, but also the operational side. So I'll just leave it as that. And we'll bring that to you guys for sure.
Okay. And when we have that, can we have also the kind of projects that we've been involved with? I know that you're developing that process, but I mean, we have 4 or 5 that keep coming up, but I mean, what else is happening? I think it's important. Another question is with regards to the staff. I know that you said you're not asking for more staff, but I understand that there is conversations happening because I mean, Housing Now is just, we just added 6 sites this year. We have the Rapid Housing program that has more sites for modular housing. And if we keep the model that we used for phase 1, a lot of the work's going to fall to the team. Are you thinking that this might need to be amended? What are the conversations going on?
For sure. So we're very much aware of that. So on the Housing Now piece, we do feel that we are adequately resourced for the current projects that we have on the go. As we continue to identify new projects, that's something that we're going to need to reassess. And the way that we want to reassess that is as we bring those projects forward to council to really identify the staffing needs at that time and have it encompassed within that council report. So we're painting the complete picture there. On the modular housing side, for sure, we've been in continuous conversations with Abby from the Housing Secretariat Group to let them know that once we finalize what the output is going to be, how many units we want to bring online for modular housing, we definitely will need additional, just 1 second. I apologize, my children don't seem to understand I'm on a call, but we definitely have told her that we will need additional resourcing to bring more units on. So right now, that is probably the most urgent area in terms of a resource gap that I can identify is related to the modular housing piece. And we've been in ongoing conversations, so this won't be a surprise to Abby. We've been talking about it. The other main projects we have on the go on the modern TO site, we feel like we're adequately staffed there. But as new projects come on, and that's the beauty of CreateTO, right? Priorities are identified and projects come forward to us. So as projects are identified, we will need to constantly reassess that and constantly reprioritize.
Thank you.
Are there other questions?
Sorry, Ron, I have a follow-up, but somebody else could go first before me.
Okay. I don't see any others, so Councillor Fletcher, you're up.
I did ask about cost recovery, Jaspreet, and then Councillor Bailau mentioned the cost to bring up 6 new projects. So I'm still a little confused as to whether or not we are in full cost recovery for CreateTO for the role in development, including 6 new projects coming on and how that's being forecast.
Sure. So that is the intent. We want to be in a full cost recovery position. We have not been historically. So as we've learned more about the projects, we understand what effort is required to bring these projects to the finish line and get a lot of these projects to market. Now we understand what's required. So as part of our 2021 budget submissions to the Housing Secretariat, we have put in our total cost from a cost recovery perspective. So just to be clear there, we've always been reimbursed for third-party costs. So any due diligence costs, or we're hiring a consultant, we're doing architectural work and whatnot, those have always been reimbursed. The staffing costs, we just did not have a good appreciation for those staffing costs and what it would cost to deliver these projects. So initially, you might recall when we went to council, we had asked for 2 FTEs to support the Housing Now initiative. If we look internally, it's closer to 12 FTEs that are working on the initiative, right? Various pieces of different people's time. So that's just, as we've learned, as we've gone through the processes, we've learned that, and we've been in communications with Abby as well.
Thank you. And then lastly, to you, Josie, could you just list all of those who aren't under the authority, I'll call it, of CreateTO for development purposes, not operationally, but you've said Hydro, TCHC, although they are under very close city related to any development. Who else? X Place is in. Who else is not in?
So when we went to, through the chair, Councillor Fletcher, when we went to council, we actually, through agencies, we have a lot more authority than we do through corporations, right? So when we went to council back in 2017, we actually listed them. One of the things that I think we need to do with this report that David and Steve are talking about is clarify things like TO Live and other other organizations, agencies like those, to get clarification around the development as well as the operational side of facilities. So that will be part of our report end. But the two that are obvious are the two that I just stated earlier. But even TO Live is a good example, right? That was not stated in 2017. And we need to actually state some of those requirements in the report.
Could we please get a list sent out to all the board after this meeting, exactly all the standings of all the corporation agencies, boards, and commissions? That would be very helpful.
We will do that for you.
Thank you so much.
No problem. David, that's yours.
Got it.
All right. Well, thanks for that information, Jaspreet. So for this item, I'll move to adopt the recommendations in the report. All those in favor? And that motion carries. Thanks very much. So we're off to RA 19.4 Modern TO Workplace Modernization Program Business Case and Implementation Plan. This item is from the city's executive committee and provides a report from the Deputy City Manager for information. I'll ask the Deputy City Manager, Josie, to provide an overview. Josie?
Mr. Chair, my colleague Ashmead Ali is also with us here today, and he has been the primary author of this report, so he's also available to comment should you wish.
Sorry, can you guys hear me?
No, you disappeared. So we thought once I said your name, you left the room.
Hold on, I'm just having a camera issue. Ashmead can start, but I'll be back in a second. Let me just figure this out.
Sure. Thank you, Steve, and good morning, board members. So what you have in front of you is an update report, an information report, and it's a continuation of the modern TO plan that we originally brought forward to this board and City Council in 2019 for approval. What's important to note from a real estate perspective is that we're cutting the real estate portfolio from 55 office locations down to 15 over the next 5 years. In doing so, we're going to be eliminating 1 million square feet of office space from the portfolio, and that's about a 33% reduction from the total. We're also generating cost savings of about $30.5 million a year in capital and operating expenses. And we're unlocking 8 city-owned properties worth an estimated $450 million. So in total, you'll see a business case that's presented in the report that shows that we are going to be generating about $1.2 billion in benefits over the next 25 years. And now what's important to remember is that to get that $1.2 billion in benefits, we have to invest about $225 million to upgrade the civic centers and the office space in those civic centers to make them more efficient and create additional capacity. They'll actually allow us to accommodate all the displaced staff from those 40 locations that we are getting rid of. So we have Sylvia Fraser and Pat Matozo also in this meeting today who are implementing this plan from the city. And they're here to answer questions as well. And you're going to see another report from CreateTO staff in Q2 of 2021 that outlines our vision and recommendations for what we do with those 8 properties that we're unlocking.
So thank you, Ash. It's Josie. Appreciate that. Can you guys see me now? Everybody can see me now, right? Ash did a phenomenal job in explaining it. I think the one important thing around this report and around what we created here with the overall citywide real estate is this is one of the asset types, the first asset type that we're actually have got our arms around, which is the office asset type. We have another 11 asset type. We have 11 altogether. This is one of them. This is one we've been focused on, and we want to make sure that we're unlocking the land and using our space efficiently. This also changes the way we work in the city, modernizing space and looking at space differently and allowing for remote working, which is with COVID, it's actually become even more an acceleration than we've ever thought before. So we've actually challenged ourselves within the city within the CREM group, which is under Pat Matozzo and CreateTO working together to get to this point. The important part here is we've unlocked 8 buildings at the end of the day. In order to be able to unlock them, we must modernize the space or we cannot actually give up the buildings, right? Because we have staff sitting them. And this includes the buildings that we're talking to unlock are TTC buildings. It also talks about Toronto Community Housing buildings. It also has Toronto Parking Authority and City. So when you look at this, it is a citywide effort here. And there's a lot of leases. At the end of the day, we go from 55 to 15, and then only one of them ends up to be a lease that we keep, and everything else is buildings that we own. It's a substantial move in the right direction, but there's a lot of work in the next 5 to 6 years to get here. And the intent is that we are able to fund this through the actual benefits of reducing the leases or getting rid of the leases, as well as the operating costs. And then the unlocked buildings will come back to council in Q2, early Q2, right, Ash? Early Q2. And we will be looking at, obviously, city building opportunities there and coming back first to CreateTO board, which will be important, and then go to council after that with the recommendations. So this is a huge accomplishment. A lot of work to be done next 5, 6 years, but really a great strategy to move forward. And we're also allowing for greater opportunity in Scarborough and Etobicoke for greater effort for people to work in different buildings than they've been able to. And I will no longer have an office. I will not have a dedicated office. A lot of us have given up of our offices and will have space so we can go across the city to use, but we will not have dedication like a lot of other organizations. So it's a big cultural shift for the organization, but it's the right thing to be able to utilize space as wisely as possible and modernize as much as we can. So I just wanted to give that feedback. And great effort on CreateTO staff, the CREM staff, and across the city. And there's been a lot of work across the groups having this dialogue, because the cultural shift here is quite substantial for a city that's not been able to do this. We've done some pockets of modernization, but not to this degree. So I just want to leave those key points also. There we go. Back to the chair.
Thanks. So do we have any questions for Josie? Marcy? You're on mute.
Okay, sorry. Josie, amazing work on this. I'm just wondering, and this might be an unanswerable question, but I'm wondering if we, or if the city is at all concerned that this is inconsistent or could be inconsistent with re-injecting life back into the downtown core.
So I would say, you're talking about the remote working, any particular?
Yeah, and I mean, I understand that this is proactive, not just for, I read the report carefully, not just for COVID, but for anything that could come up in the future. And I think that's all appropriate and forward thinking. But I also sometimes walk around downtown Toronto and I just can't believe that this is my city. So I'm just wondering how we balance that, or if we don't think this would be in any way kind of contributing to what feels like a ghost town to me, especially if you walk through the underground, connecting parts. And if people aren't returning to the downtown core and to their office buildings, how is that going to impact the city and re-injecting life into the downtown core?
I think we're still in the midst of this, right? From a COVID perspective, we don't really know what's going to happen at the end of the day. I'd say that in actual fact, and I'll let the other guys talk because we've actually had a lot of work done. We've done with Deloitte on this in particular. But I would say that the approach we're taking now is probably not that much different than we were about a year ago when we were talking about modernizing space. We were going to unlock this kind of value around the 8 buildings. What we've done differently is we've actually allowed for more of a hybrid remote working. So I don't expect, and I don't think it's actually this is my personal view, I don't think it's actually very good to actually have 100% of people working at home. I think there should be that hybrid approach, which is what we're actually talking about, is a hybrid of people moving across the buildings, right, and not being, because the collaboration and socialization is still important here. So this is not much different than what we started with. We do have a more aggressive target around the remote part, but it still allows for people to come in downtown. I do think there's an opportunity, obviously, to look at buildings differently, not just ours, but across the downtown area, as well as across offices. Office is going to be an issue. We just heard from Shopify in Ottawa that they're all remote now. They've actually no longer want their leases, right? So this will be something we're going to have to tackle, not just because of this, but bigger discussion. And as we look at the opportunity from a city perspective. So your point is valid. I think we've had discussions with many corporations. I'll let Sylvia or Pat talk about that as to what the view is there from the office piece. Do you guys want to comment on any of that right now? Because I think we're still in the midst of this right now.
Okay, thank you.
Sylvia or Pat, anything else? No?
Hey, Josie, it's Pat.
Go ahead, Pat.
Just a comment. So the latest Coronet survey I did see, and this is more from a global perspective, is that of the members of Coronet, I'm a member of Coronet, so that's sort of the Association of Corporate Real Estate, Fortune 500 government across the globe. So 52% of the latest survey will keep status quo on their portfolios. About 42% say they're looking at a reduction in their portfolio, and about 6% had stated that they'll increase their portfolio. The large occupiers, of course, large land are a little bit, it's a wait and see situation right now. But I think to Josie's point, the future will be more of a hybrid of people working from home and coming to the office.
Thank you.
So do we have any other questions?
I think Dennis had his hand up, Mr. Chair.
Dennis, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, I was just looking at, I think what Pat was saying is absolutely right, and Josie about a hybrid. We're going to have to start looking at the models like we had in Liberty Village, where you have the live-work scenarios. And I know, we can't fathom the Toronto Dominion Center being half condo, half commercial, but that's the kind of thing that's going to have to happen. And I think, it worked. The city planning was, in some ways we kept on pushing the workspace in Liberty Village, and that was an example that comes to mind. That's the kind of thing where, we're going to start looking at, does it make sense to allow half of the Toronto Dominion Center to be, condos or residential, as well as workspace? So that's the new thinking. I'm encouraged by what's going to happen. I think it's going to lead to new models that are going to be much more sustainable in the long run, I think, and provide more life downtown than less. Just a comment.
Yep. A lot more opportunity.
Yeah, just Ron, can I just make one observation, which has to do with live work, and generally it gets taxed on a residential basis. And so with this larger change, we would be looking at what would the tax class be, even for those buildings, because they're currently commercial, which brings a lot more revenue than residential. So that's something we actually haven't thought about or looked about. So I'm just flagging that today.
All right. Well, thanks very much for the information. I will move to receive this item for information. All those in favor? That motion carries. Thanks very much, Josie. Okay, so we have a bunch of items coming up now. RA 19.5 is a housing and now progress, and there's a staff report with a confidential attachment, as well as RA 19.6. RA 19.7 and RA 19.8, as well as RA 19.11. So unless anybody wants to speak to any one of these matters in the public session, I would be moving to have them move to the closed session to be discussed. Is there anyone that wishes to discuss any of those or ask any questions of staff in the public session? Okay, not seeing anyone then I will I will move to have these go into a closed session, and perhaps we can get Carol to bring up on the. So there we go, and I'll just read that out. That the board of directors of CreateTO recess its public session to meet in closed session to consider the following items: RA 19.5. Housing Now Progress Update, as it is about a position plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to a negotiations carried on or to be carried on by or on behalf of the Board of Directors of CreateTO. RA 19.6 is a Housing Now. It's a selection of the proponent for 705 Warden Avenue. And this pertains to proposed or pending disposition of the land by the Board of Directors of CreateTO and City, and a plan to be applied to negotiations carried on or to be carried on by or on behalf of the Board of Directors of CreateTO. RA 19.7, which is the Housing Now approval of agreements for 50 Wilson Heights Boulevard, and this pertains to a pending disposition of land by the Board of Directors of CreateTO and the City, and is about a position plan or construction to be applied to negotiations carried on or to be carried on by or on behalf of the Board of Directors of CreateTO. RA 19.8 is a CreateTO Human Resources and Compensation Update, and this pertains to labor relations or employee negotiations, personal matters about an identifiable person or persons, and contains advice or communications that are subject to solicitor-client privilege. And lastly, RA 19.11, Master Planning of 260 Adelaide Street West and 229 Richmond Street West, as it deals with the proposed disposition of land by the City of Toronto. So I have that, and all those in favor to go into closed session. That's our bylaw, just that. And there we go. Okay, great. Okay, so that motion carries. And Carol, you can let me know when we've gone into closed session.
Will do. We'll just need a moment. Okay, Mr. Chair, we are back in public session.
Okay, great. So we'll come back to RA 19.5, the Housing Now Progress Update, and I will move to adopt the recommendations of the report.
And Mr. Chair, I think Councillor Bailao has a motion on this item as well.
Oh, that's right. There is a motion that we have to vote on. Yeah. Maybe we can bring that up. Okay, so there's a motion made by Councillor Bailao that the Vice President of Development, CreateTO, work with the local councillor to review an increase in the density at 405 Sherbourne Street. And I will ask for a vote on that. All those in favor? We could take that off the screen. I can see the hands. Great. Thank you, Marcy. Thanks, everyone. Okay, so that motion is adopted.
And then you just need a motion to adopt the item as amended.
And so I will move to adopt the recommendations as amended. All those in favor? And that motion carries. Great. Okay, then we have RA 19.6, Housing Now, selection of the proponent for 705 Warden Avenue. And unless there's any questions of staff or speakers, I will move to adopt the recommendation. All those in favor? And that motion carries. Thank you. RA 19.7, Housing Now, approval of agreements for 50 Wilson Heights Boulevard. And then unless there's any questions or speakers with respect to that, I will move to adopt the recommendations in that report. All those in favor? Okay, that motion carries. RA 19.8 was CreateTO Human Resources and Compensation Update. Again, unless there's any questions or speakers, I will move to adopt the recommendations in the report. All those in favor? And Dennis, yep, there we go. And that motion carries. And RA 19.11, master plan of 260 Adelaide Street West and 229 Richmond Street West. And I think that I'm just going to say, I think we don't have any questions unless we have any other questions or speakers on this. I guess I'll move to adopt the recommendations in that report.
And Mr.
Carol?
Chair, there's just a slight amendment. It's to, number one is to adopt the confidential instructions to staff, and we just need to add as amended in closed session. So we'll put that on the screen for you.
That's the piece I was looking for. Great. Yes, so that the board adopt the confidential instructions to staff and the confidential attachment as amended in the closed session. Great. All those in favor? And that motion carries.
And then a quick vote on the item as amended.
Oh, so now a vote on the item that's amended. All those in favor? And that motion carries. I believe that's the end of the meeting, and the meeting is adjourned.
Mr.
And I
Chair.
would remind.
Yeah.
Sorry, Steve. I was just going to mention that we will be circulating at your direction some 2021 meeting dates to the board, and the January meeting date we're targeting is January 11th.
Right. Thank you. And I would remind the board that the corporate board meeting will start right away. You have separate WebEx dial-in instructions for that. We'll do, as I said, we'll do what we can to wrap that up as quickly as possible.
Stephen, following that, when are we getting the 2021 dates?
Oh, Carol, when will you be able to send the dates out?
I'll be sending those out today to the members to check on your availability, and then the chair will schedule the meeting for January.
What about for the remaining of the year?
Yeah, we'll be providing all of the.
Once we confirm everyone has quorum, the chair can schedule the dates and we'll put it on the January agenda for information. Yeah.
Okay.
The only one that I think needs to be done and has to be done is the January 11th date. I think we have to meet certain executive committee dates, et cetera, if I'm not mistaken.
If everyone could put that one in their book right now, block that. It would be an afternoon meeting. And if you could block the afternoon of January 11th, we would be very grateful.
To assume, Carol,
Putting
that
a hold
you've
in the
checked.
calendar.
I'm sorry, I'm going to assume, Carol, I'm going to assume that you've checked all the city schedule for that there's no conflicts with major activities and committees.
Yes, there is a standing committee that day, which is why we're proposing the afternoon, but at this time there's no overlap in membership.
As long as it's not planning and housing, we should be okay.
Usually go all day until 8 o'clock.
Okay. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, thanks, everyone.